was I watched this programme about the Carlisle Hotel in New York, and you put together this fantastic photograph in the middle of the night outside the Carlisle, and I thought, he's an interesting character.
Well, what it was, so I was, a few years ago I was performing at the same place I was telling you about, the Café Carlisle, this tiny little place, but I was doing my solo show, and that one was called Alan Cummings Sings Sappy Songs, and there was this photographer called Jordan Matta who normally takes pictures of dancers, and I have a great picture of him in my cottage here, and he took of a dancer like leaping up amongst all these flowers, but he was doing one called Dancers After Dark, and it was a thing where he was going to take pictures of dancers naked in New York City around in different places, and he asked me if I would do it, and I was sort of so flattered that he thought I was a dancer, and this is before I sort of became one last year, and so I said all right. So I was going to meet him in the East Village where I live, but then I was doing the show at the Carlisle and some people came backstage and I just couldn't get down to see them, so I said, can you come here, maybe we'll do it up here or something. And so it got to the point where he just said, maybe we should go down to the, and I'd done something, and so my manager had sent me this big bottle of champagne, not a Magnum, the one next up from a Cherub Bomb or something. Ooh. And he said, that would be really good, you could hold that in front of yourself. and so we'll get two dancers to sort of be holding it and present it to you, and you can be behind it. And I was like, okay. And so he sort of called up these dancers at like 2 o'clock in the morning and said, would you like to come to the Carlisle and do a naked picture outside of that and coming? And bizarrely, this boy and this girl said yes, and they ran over. I'd never met them before. And we went down about 2 o'clock in the morning out to and the Carlisle's a super posh, swanky hotel in the Upper East Side. And we went down and we'd sort of practiced, we went up the street and practiced the pose that we were going to do with the photographer. And then we went back in front of the doors, and the security men came out like, everything okay, Alan? I said, yes, I'm just saying goodbye to these friends. And then they went back in, we took our clothes off, and we did the pose, and it was so great. And I got the Carlisle thing behind me, and the spinning doors. And so then I just loved the picture, and I've got that. I'm kind of going like this, but there's a big thing of champagne, and we're all three of us naked, the girl and the boy going like this. And it was such a good picture that I decided, I thought, this would be so good on the cover of an album. And so what I did was I went back to the Carlisle 6 months later and did a live album recording at the Carlisle just so I could have that picture on the cover. It's hilarious.
Oh, that's fantastic. Can we get it up on screen? Does anybody else have a question for Alan? Oh, Zoe, we have down in the left-hand corner. While Zoe's running, I'm going to say, but you are a dancer, because after the most recent production of Cabaret,
yes,
you just used all your dancer muscles that you'd gained there, and you made burn.
Yes, I know, and I believe me, my body is still recovering. It is.
I think Zoe's
Alan, you've done so many different things in different ways. If you had only one that you could do, which would you choose? Which gives you the greatest satisfaction?
I think it would be the cabaret shows. I think because it's sort of like theatre.
And it's fascinating to get that insight into the ups and downs of a production, which is it's rarely straightforward to get something big to the stage.
Really, and also just like things like, how do you change between characters? I'd never done that before. I've seen plays when people play lots of one-man plays where they do like things from Dickens and the other. I'd never done that, so just the physicality of different people and trying to do like, a sex scene with yourself as two different people.
But you did it.
They don't teach you that at drama school.
I think we have another question here.
Tell us about Miriam Margolyes, and really was she as flatulent as we were led to believe on your road trip?
She was more flatulent than you saw. She's everything you'd think and more. She's hilarious, and I love her. I didn't know her very well before we started that show, and it was really because I had met her many times over the years, but we can't quite remember when was the first time. But it was because I was doing a play with Daniel Radcliffe at the Old Vic, and she was on, and we were, Dan and I, and Miriam and somebody else were on the Graham Norton show, and Miriam was kind of like I always feel like Miriam is like a little girl showing you her knickers. That's her, kind of, in a nutshell. And so she was showing me her knickers, and I was like, put them away. And so that was I kind of, she sort of needled me a little bit, and I sort of slapped her down, and then we also had a laugh. And I was going to do a show about travelling around Scotland, and I said to them, I don't want to have to go, here I am in front of, that way when you host something, you've got to always say, today I'm blah, blah, blah. And I just thought, I don't want to do that. And they said, well, why don't you do it with someone else, then you can just have a conversation. And so I'd recently done the Graham show, and so I suggested Miriam. And I just thought it would be a great combo. So then we started doing it, and it was really fun, and we grew really fond of each other. And I think that was what was nice when we came back to do it again. There was great fondness there, and just, and also in the funny sort of way, I'm usually the one who shows my knickers, but actually I'm kind of like the dad in this. And a few times I was just telling someone telling you about when there was the time in America where we were at the beach and we had this, and what had happened was, this wasn't in the show, so we got rear-ended, we were in the van and we stopped at a traffic light and they're filming us, and there's all these wee cameras on the dashboard and things like that. So I saw it. It's really disturbing. So someone went bam into the back of the van. We were like, phew. and then we had to get out. We were like, what's going on? And there was a camera cam in front of us, and the guy was there, and there was this man, and he said, may I see your passport? And I'm like, okay. And I got my passport, and I said, who are you? And he went, I'm just an American citizen who banged into you. And he was the guy who'd rear-ended us. And I was like, why am I giving you my passport? And so we were all a bit disturbed by this, and
in a magnificent fashion. But I think part of what I'm going to take from this is the serious approach that you have to your work. You're a consummate professional. You would never be late. Alan was here half an hour early. I arrived bang on time. You were half an hour. You're always on time. You're always professional. But those words, fun, joy, engagement, that's hugely important, connection, the opening up of yourself to possibilities, and keeping it dangerous, keeping it fresh. And you've got your own club as well that we're all invited to in New York.
Club Cummings. Come along.
But I think this is a fantastic lesson for all of us, whether we're artists or not, and how to live life. Well.
Thank you. Yes, life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
So please join with me, and please thank Alan for getting us.
Oh, but email address. That'd be great. How much is that?
Thank you.
My son's 20, he's playing from his mom and he's coming to see. And I went through all the different things. And the only thing I recognised was Nitro. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's no worries.
Fantastic,
Film job.
That was good.